This is Paula Lukatz at Just Food, and I want to welcome you all to our first webinar of 2013, the How-To in Social Media. And we're really excited to have Leah Cullen-Boyer from Green Guru Network with us, as well as Chelsea Simpson from the National Farm to School Network. So Just Food is a nonprofit based here in New York City, but we work with farmers within a 250-mile radius of the city to help connect them with CSAs and communities here in the city. But we have a number of different programs. We have our CSA program. We also have our urban agriculture program called the City Farms, which teaches people to share knowledge about growing food here in the city and helps community gardeners start their own community-run farmers markets, and does a chicken project which helps to build chicken coops in community gardens and schools across the city. We also have our Farm School NYC, which is our newest program. It's an urban agroecology program for adults, and it helps people learn to grow more food in the city and looks at food justice issues and entrepreneurial endeavors to get more people involved in growing food and marketing food here in the city. And then our Fresh Food for All program, which is our Farm to Food Pantry program, is a partnership between the State Department of Health HIPNAP program and United Way of New York City and Just Food that buys food from regional farmers to be distributed at food pantries across the city. Our community food education program kind of helps people know what to do with food once they have access to it. So we train people to do cooking demonstrations at our farmers markets and CSAs and food pantries to help people feel more comfortable taking fresh food home and preparing it for their families. And then our food justice program kind of takes a step back and looks at the big picture issues around our food system and food access throughout the city. So that's just kind of a rundown of Just Food. We're really excited to be doing a series of webinars thanks to funding from the Risk Management Agency of the USDA. And so this is the first, and we'll be doing 4 or 5 more over the spring and summer. So keep your eyes out for additional topics that we'll be covering. So as I said, we're going to talk first just a little bit more about the power of social media in a more general way, and then Chelsea with Leah, and then Chelsea's going to talk with us a little bit more the nuts and bolts of using different social media platforms, and then we're going to have time at the end to do some audience questions. So Leah, would you like to start us off?
Hi there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Paula. Thank you, Chelsea, and thank you, Connie, for all being here today, and thanks to everybody who's on the call. I'm Leah Cullen-Boyer. I'm Managing Director of Green Guru Network. We've been building Green Empire since 2009, and part of what we do is get involved with local food, figuring out how to connect farmers with their businesses and farmers with restaurants and farmers with CSAs, and we do that through the web, and that's where the power of social media comes in. Why social media matters. Now, I'm thinking that most of the people on this call today have either a CSA or a farm market or a reason they want to communicate with people who are buying, and one of the reasons that social media is so important is that it is so large and encompasses so many different people and so many different walks of life, and that it also embraces basically the demographic that ends up buying the most food, which are women and families, and also upcoming students. Although students may not be your top buyers right now, they're certainly the buyers of the future for you. So being able to reach those people now is a huge step. Another reason that social media matters is engagement. When you can get people involved in purchasing, and I'm sure that you already know this if you're a farm market or CSA, if you can get people involved in the purchasing process in a more social way, if you get them to invest in the place that they are, they're more likely to come back and be repeat customers over and over again. And also marketing in general has changed. It used to be that McDonald's could put an ad up on a wall or on the side of a building or on a TV show, and show you how great their burger was, and people would go out and buy that. Now people really want to get their information from their neighbors. They want to get their information from trusted sources. And the way to build that trust is through engagement and through becoming a trusted source of information. And that's all about a conversation. Social media is also very easy. Once you learn the ins and outs of the basic running of the programs, it becomes very, very simple, and it's much easier to produce your own ad or your own question or your own engagement on the social media platform than it is to go out and figure out the graphics for a new flyer that's going to be sent somewhere and then to take it, lug it all down to the post office. It's a one-click kind of a thing, and it makes it really simple. The other thing about social media is not all the platforms do this, but some do. I'll get back to that later. There's an archive. So if you have an event each year, say for instance you have a harvest festival each year, you can post to particular social media platforms the photographs, links to videos, different people's interactions onto your social media platform from that event. And next year when you have a harvest festival, instead of starting from scratch on your media campaign, you already have a media campaign laid out because people can go and look at what a fabulous harvest festival we had last year. And also the reason it matters is it's green. It's the sustainable way to go. The amount of energy it takes to reach thousands of people is infinitesimally small compared to sending out 1,000 flyers or 1,000 postcards. It's just a tiny bit of energy rather than printing and ink and transportation and postage and all that sort of stuff that goes with it. So it's a green way to go. And I'm hoping that everyone out there is familiar with Facebook. It's the mega biggest platform out there. They have the biggest audience. It's a very fun and friendly and social place to be. You can build an audience really easily there with photographs. It's a great way to tell a story. You can communicate with people in real time from an event. You can do a check-in, and it'll go out into a broader sort of big boat kind of scope of Facebook readers and viewers who you hopefully engage in the process. You can do show and tell. Instead of just explaining to people about the amazing collard greens and kohlrabi that are coming in right now, you can show them. I posted a photo of the Rhinebeck Farm Market's kohlrabi on Sunday, and I think it got 8 likes and maybe 4 comments, and you figure that 1 out of 100 people who see it will actually comment or like. So there's a whole lot of people looking at kohlrabi thinking about where they're going to get that next time. And also there's a conversation, again, building that piece of trust and building that sort of social feeling with people who come to your CSA or your farm market. Next slide, please. Twitter. Now, Twitter has the although Facebook is sort of the king of social media, Twitter has the largest engaged audience at one moment. Many people tweet and receive tweets over their phones, over their cell phones. They'll be walking through their day, a little beep will go up, and they'll look down and they'll read a tweet from somebody who they've chosen to receive tweets from, or from everybody who they've chosen to receive tweets from. So it has the largest quick audience. The users there expect to be sold. There's a lot of, even though it's not a selling platform per se, there's a lot of marketing going on there, and people are used to it. They're used to getting turned on to great deals and, you know, run down to this place and meet me. I've got incredible locally roasted coffee or something like that. I know a woman who does that with her. She has a coffee truck and actually uses locally roasted coffee, and she'll just tweet where she is, and people will come and find her there. 144 characters. Brevity is the soul of convenience. You have 144 characters to get your message across, which once you get the hang of how that works can be such a relief. Nobody expects more. Nobody expects a huge amount of input or detail. Everybody knows that's what's going on, so it makes it really easy. And also it's a tweet early, tweet often kind of a thing. For a business that wants to grow an audience on Twitter, tweeting 15 times a day is not too many. And also, the 144 characters leaves things to their imagination. It's not all spelled out, and people could often come up with more interesting things than we can, or more pertinent and relevant things than we can, that will sell them on your product. Pinterest. Pinterest has the women 25 to 35. That's the place to go for that particular demographic. It's smaller than all the ones we've been talking about so far. It's national. And I know a lot of women say that they like to go there to relax. When Facebook and Twitter is too hectic and there's too many conversations and they're feeling overwhelmed, they go to Pinterest and they look at the beautiful pictures, usually of like great gardens or food or dresses, or, you know, it's very woman-centric, and it's very photo-driven. Instagram, also very photo-driven. This demographic has both men and women. And it is basically like sharing your slideshow one slide at a time. You can add more, certainly, but like you can upload one slide at a time to the world, and it's very quick and it's very easy. The only downside of Instagram is there's some concern about ownership of your photos. If you have photos that you would prefer other people not to use or to have access to, this is not the place to put it. Although all social media platforms, once you post something there, it's no longer yours to keep. It's already public domain once it's up there. So if you have a photo that you would rather not have other people copy, then it's not a good place for you to put it. Know that if people try to pinch your photographs off the web, that it's going to be fairly low resolution. In other words, if you put a photo of your farm market and you have a concern that someone will blow it up into poster size and use it for an ad, don't worry. They pretty much can't do it. It's very, very hard. Next slide, please. Green Guru Network. Now this is our platform, and the beautiful thing about Green Guru Network is it's regional. And it reaches a very targeted audience. And it reaches an audience that's within the 250 miles of New York City. About 25% of the opens for Green Guru Network happen in New York City. That's 25% of the people that click on Green Guru Network are there at the time. 25% are in Westchester. 25% in the greater Hudson Valley, kind of the 250-mile radius. And the last 25% is international. So the community is there, and it's our community. And there's also a measure of safety there. With large-scale platforms, there's all kinds of people coming in from different places who have, you know, scams or inappropriate material or things that you don't really want to have to sort through. And Green Guru Network is small and safe. It's a great place to put your group if you have a group that's working on your CSA and you need a place for you to meet virtually and to exchange ideas. This is a great place for it because of the safety. And you can also choose to be a private group or a private, to be private within Green Guru Network so that it's not out there in the world for people to see. It's focused. You're getting people who are interested in sustainability. You're getting women, and you're getting people who are basically in that family, from early family to sort of an empty nester stage, that like 30 to 45 age range. There's customer service there. There's always people there to help, whereas the larger scale social media platforms, you basically are thrown into a forum, and that's where you get answers from. So there's not that same customization or individual service. It's familiar. It has all the same workings as Facebook, only on a very simplified scale for those of us who are not born into the computer age. Again, it's local. It's just around here, and it's agile. So if you want something developed, Green Guru Network can help you develop whatever it is you're looking for in a tool. Next slide, please. Okay, now here's what you can share. You can post content, which is basically stories about what's going on in your CSA, and explanations, invitations, deals, whatever it is you want to send out. You can post live links, so you can link through to your own website. You can post photos so people can see what's going on there. And one of the beautiful things about this, when I was talking about creating an archive, Green Guru Network actually has archive spaces for you. So you can go in and post photographs of the Harvest Festival, and next year it'll be already set, not just available for information, but set in a place where people can actually see the entire festival, live links to their videos, PDFs, photos, all your newsletter content can go in there and people can refer to it. The other beautiful thing about the newsletters is if you create a newsletter for your CSA and then post it to a website like Green Guru Network, then that information, the information in your newsletter goes to everybody you e-blasted to, but the information that you posted on Green Guru Network now becomes public and large. And what's wonderful about that is it increases your search engine optimization. So if you're talking about a recipe for spring greens and somebody's looking for spring greens New York or something like that, when they put in their Google search, you will be much more likely to come up on the first page. Next slide, please. And there's a share tool on Green Guru Network. So if you become a member there and you post stuff there, you can use that platform to share onto all the other platforms. There's a really simple tool. It's a one-click thing. You make your post, or you put your photograph on, and then with one click you can put it on Facebook. With one click you can put it on LinkedIn. With one click you can put it to the other social media platforms. So it simplifies it, makes it sort of a one-stop shop for all of your social media posting. And I already mentioned the multipliers, search engine optimization links. And next slide, please. How to engage. Okay, so one of the things you can do, you can see this is got a screenshot here of Green Guru Network, and you can create a community profile which you can speak to other members and out into a larger group of social media platforms as your CSA or as your farm market. You can create a directory listing, and that's, you can see on the right-hand side, I don't have a pointer that you can see, but over on the right there's a screenshot, and there's a map there, and on that map are all of the farm markets that have chosen to take a free directory listing. So if somebody's just looking for a map of farm markets that's live, they can go there. The USDA has produced a lovely map of farm markets, and yours should be on it. If it's not, you should find out a way to get it on there. The only downside to it is it's not updated regularly. If you tell them about your CSA, they will update it when they can, but it's not updated as regularly as people who actually operate the farm market update their own directory listings. On the left, you have there's an events page. That other screenshot on the left is events. You can create events, including this week at our farm market we have spring greens and strawberries and a fabulous guitarist who's going to play music, you know, that sort of thing. Or bring your children for activities. You can present that as an event, and that's all totally free, and you can share that out on all the other social media platforms from there. And you can also write articles, and the articles will get you noticed as an expert and begin to build you as a thought leader in the local food movement. And those can be, we can talk offline about how to get those posted. We'll just get them up there for you if you'd like your article posted. Next slide, please. And I'm sorry, I'm hustling through this because I know I want to be sure to leave time for everybody. This is a group, and this is a particular group. This is Green Drinks Westchester. And it kind of shows you, if you created a group for your CSA, some of the tools you can have to share with people. If you look across the top to the left, it gives you some description of what the group is. Below it, there's announcements, including a photograph that's within the announcement box. There's discussions where your group members can go back and forth and talk with each other and create a thread of interesting information. And the strip in the middle there will show you the members, their photographs, photo albums, videos, and below there, which we couldn't get on here, is events that you can keep private just for your group members if you'd like, or make them public if you'd prefer. The groups are easy to e-blast through. It's much easier than going through MailChimp or creating a whole new blasting tool or Constant Contact. They're interactive. People can get involved in the discussions and create a thread. There's privacy. You can make your group as private or as public as you like. And it creates an archive for all of your people that are working within your CSA. and also it's ultimately shareable. What some groups have done is they've kept their group private while they work through all the bugs and the pieces of their information that they weren't sure they wanted to share. And when they were done, they cleaned it up and they made it public, and they had this really great how-to. So if somebody wanted to create I think in some cases there were people who were creating some recycling protocols, they could do the entire business of creating how they did it, and then they could pull out the part where somebody was feeling disgruntled or something that's sort of private they didn't want to really have up there on the board. They could pull that out and then post it as a public group, and people could come in and see how they actually developed that group and how they developed that project. You can do that with a CSA if you'd like to help other people learn how to develop their CSAs. I did it in an hour, in 1 minute less than I had allotted, and I thank you very much for your attention to your time. That's me, and Green Guru Network is a great way to connect with me. And if you have questions, I'd be more than thrilled to answer them. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Leah. And yeah, I think we'll try to move on to Chelsea, and then if people could just hang on to their questions, feel free to type them in as we go, and then we'll just kind of hang on to them, and we'll try to get through all the questions at the end.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me on the webinar today. My name is Chelsea Simpson, and I am the Membership and Communications Associate for the National Farm to School Network. Apologies, it looks on my end at least like my slide's a little bit garbled there. Things are kind of wonky at the top, but you get the idea. Just to tell you a little bit about what we do, the National Farm to School Network is a national nonprofit that works to advocate for farm to school programs. And farm to school, of course, is the practice of encouraging schools to bring local food into the cafeteria and into the classroom, as well as other local food and food education initiatives such as school gardens and cooking education. So it's really the whole picture of how we educate kids about food and how to eat and where food comes from. I'm also one of the founders of JustAskLocal.com. This is an initiative that I started to try and encourage consumers to ask for local food in restaurants and retail establishments, with the idea that just asking is half of the battle, because once retailers know there's a demand, they're more likely to seek out a product. So I maintain some social media for both of these projects as well as just for myself. So that's my education background that I'm coming from today. I also grew up on a farm, and I will say that social media, while it's a part of my job, it's not what I do all day. I work for a nonprofit. We have a small staff. So I don't come at this from the standpoint of an absolute, completely immersed social media expert. And I assume that you were probably in much the same position as farmers and perhaps nonprofit staff. You don't have all day to sit around and manage your Facebook or Twitter accounts, and nor would you want to. And so I'm going to really take the approach today of just showing you the basics. What you can do if you just have a little bit of time to put into this. Let's see here. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, about some of the concepts about what to share, and then I'm actually, I think, going to share my screen if that's successful, and we're going to move away from the slides, and I'll show you some social media programs directly. I'm assuming that most of you are probably pretty new to using social media for your business, so I'm going to start sort of at the beginning. But I think a lot of the barrier, if somebody's, maybe you have your own Facebook account, but you don't have an account for your business, and I think the barrier for a lot of people is they think to themselves, well, what would I post? And, what would I say? And I think that's really, half the battle is deciding what you're going to actually put out there. And so I wanted to take a second and address that. First of all, you don't have to be really, really prolific. In fact, with Facebook, I believe that businesses and organizations shouldn't even necessarily post daily. I mean, really, the thing with Facebook and Twitter is that it's kind of the only as good as your weakest link theory. If you're putting a lot of stuff out there and it's really high quality, then that's fantastic. If it's stuff that everybody who's following you wants to see, then you could get away with posting a lot, and you would keep gaining followers, and you would, keep people engaged, and no one would leave your feed. But if you don't have just stellar content day in and day out, and most of us don't, then it's best to just post when you actually have something to say. So on Facebook, if you're an organization or a business, that might just be a couple times a week. You don't want people to forget that you're there. It might be daily. And on Twitter, the bar is a little different. Like Leah was saying, people might post 15 times a day on Twitter. I think if you're getting started, you shouldn't necessarily tell yourself that you have to post that much. But if you can post, 3 or 4 times a day, that's great. Whereas on Facebook, 3 or 4 times would really be a little bit much. I think the best thing to do to get more comfortable with what you're going to post on Facebook and Twitter is just to ask yourself what you like to see. And not only are you probably similar in a lot of ways to your target market and the people that you're working with and want to reach out to, but we're all human, and most of us like a lot of the same things. I mean, this is why cat photos, for example, are so famously ubiquitous on the internet. Everyone likes a really cute animal, almost everyone, I should say. And so if you consider yourself a fairly normal and social person, the things that you like are probably going to be the things that other people like. And you should have some confidence in that. So what are some examples of things that are really great, particularly for organizations and businesses to share? Well, first of all, information that's useful. You're not necessarily keeping this account just for kicks. This is, you want to get a message out there. And if people are following your business account, they want to know what's going on from you. I'm sure that they're really going to enjoy your pictures and other things that you post. But if you're selling, having a sale on brisket this weekend at the farmers market, by all means, people are going to be all over that. There are a number of organizations that I follow just because I know that they'll tell me when they're having a special of some kind. Likewise, announcements. I mean, if you've ran out of brisket and you're not going to have any at the farmers market, or if this is going to be the first week in the spring that you have strawberries, I mean, that's gold. That's exactly what social media is for. Also, event information. Just letting people know, where your market's at, where your event's going to be. Information is really where it's at, and really for what your purposes are. Information is really what you want people to be hearing from you. The other stuff you share is to just sort of keep people engaged and keep people interested largely. And what is that other stuff? Well, you might share photos, for example, or observations about farm life. And this is the stuff that's going to be a little more on the fun side, both for you and the folks who are following you. It also helps to build community. So it's not just to keep people engaged so that you can tell them about your sales, but it's going to help people remember why they're buying products from you, why are they supporting you. They want to know what you're planting and what are you harvesting and how is this drought affecting you. People more and more want to be engaged in their food, and this is what social media can help you do, is engage. Also share other people's news, and I'll talk about retweeting and reposting things a little bit. But if another farmer or organization has something really great, for example, if you're on Twitter and Just Food is talking about their next webinar, repost it for them, retweet it. Just, it's relevant, it's part of the community, and it'll help you and Just Food gain followers. A couple other ideas about what to share. I think you want to think about developing an online personality, and I'm going to give a couple examples of this in just a moment. But, think about your business, and whoops, oh, this is one of the examples I was going to give. It jumped ahead there. Sorry, my little arrows disappeared. I couldn't see that I was flipping the slides. Uh-oh.
I think you're in
I'm
the
sorry.
wrong way.
Can somebody on that end help me get back to the, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you want to think about the personality of your business. Are you the young, fun upstart? Are you, the established, go-to? What is your persona going to be? Are you going to be funny when you're online? It's okay to sort of be yourself a little bit. At the same time, of course, keep it professional. it's always good to remember that this is not your personal account. You probably don't want to get anything about politics involved, maybe nothing about what's going on with your family, unless it's your really cute kids helping you pick up eggs. This is your business account, but it's okay to let a little bit of who you are shine through. You also want to create a dialogue by asking questions and replying to people's comments. So engagement is what we're going for, right? We want to see that a lot of people are asking and retweeting, that a lot of people are liking and retweeting what we're doing. Not only is that gratifying for somebody managing a social media account to know that somebody out there is listening, but it's just going to help your message grow and share. You want people to share this message with their friends. So, ask questions. Say, what are you cooking for Easter weekend? Get people talking. Show pictures of your eggs and encourage people to show pictures of the eggs that they dyed. Whatever seems relevant at the moment, as long as it's a good and legitimate and fun question. And if people reply to your comments, if people reply to things you post, try to reply to them. Keep an eye on your social media, even if you just have a chance to check it once a day. Keep an eye so that if somebody says, hey, are you going to have more bread this weekend? You can say, yes, I am, and we're going to have 3 varieties. That's important. So here's an example, and I took a screenshot of this farmer's page. This is a farmer who I personally follow on Facebook. He's someone that I know, and I think he does a particularly good job of a couple of the things I was just talking about. He posts with a lot of personality. He's a guy with a lot of personality, and he doesn't even have a business page. He's made his Facebook name his business name, and he's using a picture of himself as his profile, which, it works. Generally, if you have a logo or something, that makes a better avatar. But he has a lot of personality, and it kind of works for him. So he raises vegetables, but mostly he raises pork, and he talks a lot about what's going on his farm. He has a lot of large sense of humor about the fact that, yes, his pigs are really cute, but one day everyone's going to eat them. And so he has a lot of tongue-in-cheek sort of bacon jokes, and it's just really popular. You can see here he's posted these photos of his farm, and one of them has 42 likes, another one has 35 likes. People are commenting. 18 people commented on this snowy picture. This is the kind of thing you're going for. Here's another example from the same farmer. He has a full photo album dedicated to ways that you can cook pork. What's better? What's better than that if you're trying to get people to think about what you're doing with your business and what you're selling. Okay, so the nitty-gritty, how to share. Keep it short, even on Facebook. So Twitter famously has a character count, but even on Facebook, shorter is usually better, and people are skimming it for little information. I try to keep anything that I post to about 2 lines, really. I just think it looks better on the page. I think it's going to capture people's eye more. If you have more to say, that's fine. By no means absolutely cut yourself off at 2 or 3 lines of text. But try to not write a paragraph in your status on a regular basis. I just don't think it grabs as much attention as shorter posts. Photo captions on Facebook are an exception. You might have seen these reposted and shared around the internet. If you've got a really good story to tell, I know the cliche is that a photo tells 1,000 words, but sometimes there's something really engaging behind a story. Maybe you have a photo from the farm or a photo of a customer, and you really want to tell the backstory. Those are, if you've got a good story to tell, put it in a photo caption. Those things can be widely shared on the internet. But the nitty-gritty, these are the things that I think make people intimidated when they first get into Twitter, are hashtags and the other symbols that you see. If you're not familiar with these things and all the acronyms that are used, they can be a little bit overwhelming. My best advice is just to start using these social media platforms, and the more you use them, the more familiar these things will be. But hashtags are basically a way to group conversations together, like adding a label to your post, so that people who are interested in the topic can find it later. But sometimes they're used literally, and sometimes they're meant as a joke. For example, I might put a hashtag on the phrase local food because I want people who are searching for conversations about local food on Twitter to find my post. Or I might have a hashtag that says, you know, wish I had more bacon, you know, hashtag wish I had more bacon, and I'm really just sort of being silly. I know that nobody's going to be searching for the phrase wish I had more bacon, but, you know, I'm saying, you know, gosh, sure was hungry when I woke up this morning, hashtag wish I had more bacon. And I'm just sort of making a joke of it. It's a little bit of a hard thing to understand unless you've seen it in action. And the @ symbol is what appears between somebody's, before somebody's Twitter name or handle. So it's just, and it's also how you tag somebody. So if you type the @ symbol and then type their name, then they will be posted, tagged in your post. So you can also reply to someone using the @ symbol, and I'll show you this in action. And retweeting is just when you repost something that someone else shares, and the shorthand for that is RT. So you see that a lot on Twitter. So a couple things I want to note about Facebook. Here you can see the Facebook page for the National Farm to School Network. This is the organization that I work for and the Facebook account I manage. You can also see up here on the right that this is actually, I'm logged in right now to my personal Facebook account. When you create pages in Facebook, you're always doing it through your personal account. You can add other administrators, and in fact, all of my coworkers are actually administrators on this page as well. It does not mean that people who are on your page can see your personal account. The two are separate, but you access the management through the same account. I can actually toggle between whether I'm managing my personal account or I'm managing my page right here. If you click on this little gear symbol, it says use Facebook as Just Ask, National Farm to School Network, or two of my other projects. So I want to use this page right now as the National Farm to School Network. And here we go. Now you can see my avatar changed. I could post on the page either way. The big difference is if I'm managing as the National Farm to School Network, if I go to the home, here you can see all the folks who I am following as an organization. So just like on Facebook, when you're using it for yourself, it's important to follow people, and here are some of the other organizations that we're following as a network. A couple other things to point out here. I'm going to assume a lot of people are familiar with the concept of posting on Facebook. One thing you might not have noticed that's pretty new is that you can now schedule your posts. So if I was going to type in here, you know, check out our new webinar, because we host webinars through our organization as well. But I don't want this post to go out because, you know, maybe I only have time to do my social media at 11 o'clock at night, you know, after I'm done with all my other tasks for the day. And I don't want this post to go out at 11 because it could be that, you know, no one will be online, no one will see it. I can schedule this by adding a year, adding a month, adding a day, and, oops, where's my time? And then it'll go out at a later time, but I don't want to do that right now. Just want to show you. We're going to switch back over. In case you've never set up a Facebook page for a business or for any purpose before, just want to remind you where you go to do it. Right here on the left-hand toolbar, you have your pages. And if you click more, you have the option right here to create a page. And then it's pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to be prompted for some basic information. So since we're short on time, I'm going to flip over real quick and show you a couple things I want you to know about using Twitter. This is the Twitter account for the National Farm to School Network, and I'll admit it doesn't really look like much. You can customize all of these things. You might notice I had a customized cover and whatnot on Facebook. I could customize the background, and I can customize this image. I can customize all this. I haven't really spent just a whole lot of time on this, and that's partly because I mostly use Twitter through Hootsuite, and I think a lot of other people are reading their tweets from other platforms besides my Twitter page as well. So this is what a Twitter account looks like. These are my tweets. Here's what my feed looks like. These are people that I'm following. Here's where I can write a tweet. But since I'm guessing this is an audience of folks who have just very little time for social media, like we've been talking about, I'm going to recommend that you use a third-party app called Hootsuite. It's free if you are only managing one account, and it makes it really easy to schedule your tweets. So literally, even though this is part of my job, I usually will schedule tweets in batches. So I have a couple, I have some time on Monday mornings, for example, that I will come in here and I will write several tweets at the same time, and then I'll schedule them to appear on different days throughout the week. So this means you don't have to constantly be on your social media to make it effective. It also helps you be able to plan out what you're going to post. I highly recommend exploring Hootsuite. You can also create lists of favorites. So if you follow a lot of organizations but you really want to hear from only about 50 of them, you can create a list. You can customize this whole screen. I've got all these different lists here. I've got a feed to show me my tweets, a feed to show me my favorite tweets, and a feed here that's empty right now that shows me what I have scheduled coming up. You can customize all of this. You can do Facebook through Hootsuite, but I don't recommend it because Facebook's algorithms will deprioritize your messages if you schedule them through Hootsuite. It's just something a little mean that they do. But I know we're running short on time. I've just sort of glazed over some of these things, and haven't really had time to go into specifics. A lot of things are pretty self-explanatory once you start playing with them. If you hover over messages, you get the option to reply and retweet and whatnot. So I'll just wait, and we'll see what people are interested in when you start asking questions.
Great, thank you, Chelsea. So this is a question from Kelly. How do you get more people to like your Facebook page without paying? Chelsea, do you?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that, I mean, that's the magic question, right? I would say, first of all, that it can be a slow process, and I wouldn't worry about it too much at first. You know, if you've been Facebooking as a page for just a few weeks or even a few months, it's going to be a slow build. I would say for someone who doesn't want to pay and get really in-depth into the analytics, the best advice is just to keep having good content, keep posting about things that people might want to share with others. Let your customers know that, that you are on Facebook also. So if there's any way that you can have a little sign, you know, if you have a farmer's market booth or whatever your situation is, any way that you can help people know that you're on Facebook, especially if, you know, I'll tell you what always gets me as a consumer. If somebody says, you know, we have specials we're going to, you know, announce, you know, to our Facebook followers, you know, kind of incentivize it. Maybe even let people know through a little sign or a flyer that, you know, maybe there's going to be a coupon that you only release on Facebook. I think things like that can be really helpful.
Yeah, those are all wonderful. That's a really great way to do it. Another thing that I've done in the past is scour my contact list, my email contact list. If you have a constant contact e-blast list or MailChimp list, to just blast them once and go, like us on Facebook. We're trying to build that page. People now understand that businesses need a page and need to have a sense of viewership of that page on Facebook. And your loyal customers will be just very happy to help you with that. Another thing I do is I go from my personal Facebook page, I will ask my friends to like Green Guru Network or to like other farmers' pages. And once you start that interaction where people are being asked to like different places for you, it's a great way to build an audience. It really works well. Another thing I've done in the past is done a contest. We worked with Stone Barns and actually Just Food with your conference last October, where we gave away free tickets to the conference if you liked something about Just Food or Green Guru Network. And people just started liking and liking and liking. And so that was a great thing to do, is to have a giveaway. Another cool thing to have is a QR code in your booth. Now, it's a growing and emerging sort of a thing, so not everybody's going to find it successful, but a QR code that links people to your Facebook page, so anyone with a smartphone who wanders into your CSA or your farm market can just click on that, and it'll take them right to your Facebook page, and they can like it right on the spot. There's nothing like doing that right on the spot.
Actually, Leah, for folks, can you explain what a QR code is, just for people who might not be?
Oh, sure. Sure. You'll see them at the mall, and you'll see them in advertisements on paper a lot. It's a little square box. It kind of looks like a barcode. It's usually black and white, although they do have them in color. But usually it's black and white. It's square, and it has this weird little pattern of boxes in it. And what happens is somebody with a smartphone can get an app that will read that little code, and basically it can be attached right to your web page or your Facebook page or whatever you like. And they're super simple to make. It takes about 3 minutes to make one, so don't let anybody sell you one. And if you want help building one, you can always email me, and I'll send you a link to the page to do it, and I'm happy to help. It's very, very easy. So that's my best recommendations for how to build likes.
Yeah, and for those folks on the call who are CSA farmers, certainly making sure that your CSAs have your a link to your Facebook page or your Twitter on their websites, and at the distribution site, having a QR code at the distribution site that people could scan would be a great way of making sure that people are seeing your content as well. We had another question. At any point, does Twitter charge any fees like Facebook sometimes does? Chelsea, you want to start with you?
Yeah, I would say, not to my knowledge. I am not aware. I have never encountered anything where I was prompted to pay. I'm curious what you mean by like Facebook does, and I guess you're probably meaning like, the question on Facebook that it prompts you now, do you want to promote this tweet? And do you want to place an ad and whatnot? So just to make it clear for anyone else who's listening who's not familiar with those, Facebook and Twitter are both totally free to use in the normal way. Of course, you can pay on both of them to have things promoted. I know that's not because I've ever paid for anything, but because I've seen ads in both places. I've seen tweets, for example, that said that they were promoted content from Sears, for example. I guess they knew I was interested in buying appliances, and so I know that you can pay for ads and pay to promote things, but to use it as a basic user, no, you never have to pay for either of them. And I generally wouldn't even recommend, if you're just getting started, wouldn't necessarily recommend that you dive in. I think that there are better ways probably for somebody new to social media to get going than to pay for promoting.
Great. Another question. Can Facebook be a successful alternative to an emailed, formatted CSA newsletter?
I don't know if I'd say it would be, that's a good question. I think that it can be an alternative to several things, I guess I would say. I certainly know businesses that use their Facebook instead of a website even, and I think depending on what you're doing, that can even be semi-successful. It just really depends on the information that you want to get out there. I think it could stand in the way of it could stand in for a newsletter in today's world. If you really encourage people to sign up for your feed, just like you would encourage them to sign up for the newsletter. I think the thing that's a little bit different about Facebook is that, depending on, as an individual, how many people you're following, you might come and check your Facebook feed and not see every single post. In other words, things get lost in the shuffle sometimes. Whereas if something winds up in your inbox, well, I guess it could still get lost in the shuffle technically, depending on how many emails you get, but it's a little less likely. So, newsletters are kind of a more surefire delivery bet, but there's a lot to be said for social media and Facebook in that regard if you're really on a budget. And you can say a lot more, and you can say a lot more often. You're not going to want to send daily emails to people, and like I said, you can post daily photos if you've got good ones.
Leah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. I totally agree that a social media platform can be even better than an e-blast. partly because the ability to keep track of all those things in one place, to be able to archive that message. And because stuff that happens to come to people in email gets deleted, gets put in the bottom of the pile, gets hard to find. But if it's on a social media platform, it's got some permanency in that you can scroll back and find it later. And that's one of the things we do with Green Guru Network is create these groups for CSAs and things like that, where they can go in and just keep track of discussions. And then you don't have to go back to each year and reinvent the wheel. It's already there waiting for you. And I think it really simplifies the process. Once people know that their message comes that way rather than through an e-blast, then they know to look for it and they know to think about it, and they kind of tune into that particular platform so you can be found. And I think the whole thing with social media, whether it's outgoing or incoming, whether it's e-blasts or whether it's a media platform where people log on like Green Guru Network or Facebook, is that people, once they choose to learn the mechanics of it, are dedicated to that. And once they go through that process, they're really usually very, very happy with it. So I would say that would be even a better way to keep track of things in the long run than an e-blast.
And I think, sorry, this is Paula, my 2 cents in. I think one of the ways that this can be really useful is if you don't want to do a whole newsletter and your core group takes on that role, it can kind of let you not do the whole newsletter and yet still give you an avenue to communicate directly with members. So, given that not everybody is on Twitter and Facebook, so you may not, reach everybody. It might not be the way to make sure that everybody, gets really important information, but it is a way to be able to kind of communicate directly with members without necessarily having to send dedicated emails or create a whole newsletter. So I think it could definitely enhance communication. I want to say thank you very much to Leah and Chelsea for giving us some really, really great information. The webinar is being recorded, so it'll be archived on the Just Food website, and we'll be emailing it out. So if there's something you wanted to remember from the webinar that you want to go back and listen to again or see the slides again, it'll definitely be saved and archived on our website, and you can have access to it again. Like I said, this is the beginning of a series of webinars that we're going to be doing, and I'm not quite sure what the next one is going to be. We'll be doing one in April on working with core groups, so kind of talking about pros and cons and the ups and downs of working with a group of members as a core group. So I hope that you guys can join us for that. And again, I'd love to thank Leah and Chelsea for being part of the webinar with us.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much.